Welcome to Barley and Me. I'm your host, Ben Rice. We're here today in Placerville, California at Outbreak Brewing. With us today, we've got owner and brewer Tim Daniel.
Hey, how's it going, Ben?
And our special guest today, Placerville Public House owner. It's Al Griffen.
Yes, also known as the Bossman.
Bossman Al.
That's right.
Thank you guys so much for coming out here and doing this.
Yeah,
No
thanks for doing it. You know?
Yeah,
Glad
pleasure.
to have anybody up here to do stuff like this. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to get up to Placerville. I very rarely have a reason to do so. So
It's
an
a cool
excuse
spot
is
to
always
be.
good.
Yeah, and the weather's great. Sitting out on the patio, drinking a beer.
Yeah,
No
during
complaints.
rush hour.
Yeah, can't ask for much more.
So how's business here, Tim? at
Good.
Outbreak?
Things have been kicking into gear, especially after this winter. You know, we had a lot of snow, a lot of rain, a lot of stuff to make it slow, but the whole town's really hustling and bustling right now, so it's doing good. Definitely kicking into gear.
So how long have you guys been open now?
Let's see, we officially opened the doors after getting our final on the tasting room June of 2017, but we started 7 days a week March 2018 on St. Patty's Day. So we were about a year and a month or so right now,
That's awesome.
officially.
Was
Yeah.
it just like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday initially? Or?
Yeah, we were doing just weekends really initially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just testing the waters, seeing.
Yeah, pretty much just testing the water, seeing what people liked, what they didn't like, you know, having fun with a little party here and there.
Finding staff.
Yeah, finding staff.
Yeah.
Losing staff.
Finding audience.
Finding
losing
more
audience.
staff. Exactly.
Yeah. So how's Placerville taken to you guys?
Placerville's been really great to us, you know. Dustin and I, my partner, he's just real close to us here somewhere, but him and I both grew up here. We were born here, right in the hospital, about probably 600 feet from where we're sitting right now. And just always been around here, always connected with people, both in construction, doing beer stuff, you know. So we've always been around the people of Placerville in one way or another, you know. So when people heard we were doing it, we had a lot of backing and a lot of people really excited about, you know, getting into it.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Al, you have the Placerville Public House.
I do.
Tell me about it. Tell me
So
about how you got there.
we've been open about 2.5 years now. I moved up to Placerville probably, 9-10 years ago. Not quite 10 years
Should
ago.
have announced that tacos have arrived.
Oh,
This is a
tacos.
very
I
important
wasn't aware there were
development. I didn't know there were going to be
tacos, so
tacos,
this
and
is-
now
this
they're
is a
here.
treat.
Definite tacos.
Speaking of tacos,
Oh, nice.
we
Thank you.
you know, we were in Placerville and there wasn't a lot of places in town. There wasn't a lot of beer spots, and we drive down Main Street looking for beer, looking for places to eat, and a lot of the restaurants closed early. And you know, being a local brewer here at Jack Russell for a few years, and in Sacramento, we just decided we needed a place in town, so we opened a little tap house pub, live music, food, beer, rotating taps, and you know, got to know people like Tim and some of the other breweries in town, the other business owners, and Placerville's been really great to us. It's business is just growing and growing. Every year we've grown a little bit. This last year we grew 30%, so we're enjoying it, loving it.
So you guys kind of found each other through the brewing community first, and then you had your tap room already.
The funny thing is, I actually came down here. I think asked him if he was hiring.
We were into construction
Before
still.
they were even like, yeah, they were still under construction, because I was moving up to Placerville needing a job, and I was commuting to Sacramento working at Rubicon Brewing and later at Bone Shakers, and I was tired of the commute. I lived up in Pollock Pines, and he was like, he was in construction phase, and it was like, yeah, I don't know if I'm hiring anybody yet. He was obviously not ready to be open anytime soon, and so that was the first time meeting him, and then later through the brewery at Jack Russell and through just the community in Placerville, I think, you know, you finally will run into these people over time. It's a small town.
Yeah, you're always in Placerville. You're bound to meet somebody at least 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, yeah. It's such a great community too. I mean, everyone here is very helpful and friendly and welcoming, and you know, we always try to help each other out with things. You know, the beer community is pretty strong up here. It's pretty local and small knit, and
Yeah,
very,
it's kind of like our music community too. It's you know, both the beer, you know, and the music community both. We've done really well as far as, you know, the bands that are coming in and the entertainment that we have going, and both Al and our spot is really kind of cater to that fun music environment, you know. So it's just a cool place, couple cool places to go hang out and be here, you know.
yeah, we both do live music. He does live music a little bit earlier in the evening. We do live music a little later in the evening. A lot of times similar bands are playing at both our venues. So it's kind of cool. And then a lot of times, someone will ask me, who was that playing down there? Or have you heard the band at Outbreak? And so a lot of times we're kind of sharing information back and forth, How did they do for you? How well was the band? How good were they? And so we're trying to, feed off each other a lot of times too.
Yeah, sharing information, kind of making sure everybody succeeds.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And nobody's making the same mistake twice.
Try not to.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think a lot of people understand that. When you have multiple successful places, it just feeds more success. And so I was always telling people, I don't want to be the only place in town. I don't want a monopoly. I want other places around me to succeed. I want other great breweries in town. I want great live music venues in town. What's the point in just being the only place in town? It's not that kind of town.
Yeah.
You want to grow the industry.
Yeah. Plus, it's like, well, now the patrons have to cater to your taste as opposed to you catering to theirs. So there's another one's like, oh, you don't really like what I have on. There's another place down the road that has something that might be more to your liking. And you can you get more connections because they have a connection to a brewery. Now you can get that brewery and they can get the one you have a connection to. And it's better for everybody.
Yeah. Well, people didn't understand when people come into the public house, we don't serve burgers and fish and chips and pizza and all that. And, typical pub food, we serve a different menu. And I would tell people, go this place, go to that place, go down the street, go over here. And they're like, you're recommending another restaurant? And I'm like, yeah.
I don't have what you want.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
if
make
I
it so
want
you
a
have a good
burger,
night.
this is where I would go. If I want a pizza, this is where I would go. And people just don't. A lot of people don't understand that. And I think if we're going to grow the industry and we're going to get people up into Placerville as a beer destination, as a food destination, as a nightlife destination, you have to have that. You have to have people that are willing to share in the love.
Right. Go the extra step and really connect with each other so that we can all kind of have a cool, fun atmosphere.
Yeah, because you're going to find your target market kind of by accident that way. They'll come into one place, and if they don't know the thing exists, nobody wins.
Yep.
Yeah. No, we've kind of how we've done it too on these really big events. We'll get, as much as 500 people here hanging out. And we shut down our entire parking lot and do this huge event. We've had, where there's, food vendors. There's almost like a mini street fair kind of thing going on. And it's just a gnarly packed joint, and the whole idea is like to invite other businesses to be a part of what we're doing here. So it's like just right back to that connectivity,
Yeah, and a lot of times when they're done here, because like I said, they're doing an earlier evening, they're heading down to the public house later that night. So it's kind of that, sharing in the downtown, sharing in the atmosphere. They might catch a band down here, get a beer, or vice versa, So it's kind of cool seeing that, we share some customers in common. We share some beers in common. We share some food in common, some music in common. So it's kind of cool.
In common.
Yeah. Some toot in common. Sorry.
You had to do that, didn't you?
I know. I can't stop myself sometimes. I'm very
It was right
sorry.
there.
Yeah. I'm like, let's say it. If I don't say it, I'm just going to say it to somebody else later, and it's going to have no context.
Yeah.
And it's going to be not funny. So just
we've actually, brewed some beers together over the last couple of years. We did what was it, last year? We did a collab with myself, Tim, and Totem Coffee, a local coffee shop.
Oh.
Yeah, they serve a really good locally roasted coffee and a couple beers on tap. So we did a 3-way collaboration.
What did it come out as? Like
it was an imperial stout with a blend of a couple different coffees. We actually did this little scientific tasting where we sat down with the base beer and tasted a bunch of coffees and a bunch of cold brew coffees that he made. The local roaster, and then Jacob, and then we tasted them and then decided on which one we liked and blended it. I don't remember what the blend was, a Brazilian and a Colombian and a
it was
something like that, maybe a Guatemalan and a Brazilian.
Guatemalan and a Brazilian.
Yeah, so we decided on a blend that fit well with the beer, and the base beer was The Walking Dead that you're drinking now. And we did this coffee version of it. Yeah,
I like drinking a stout on a 90-degree day outdoors. It's the ideal.
Yeah,
it's what I look forward to every day.
Yeah.
Summer is stout season. If you didn't know,
right? Well, people always ask us too, "What's your favorite beer?" And I'm like, "The one I'm drinking."
It really is.
It doesn't matter. I mean, I do drink seasonally, and you drink for the weather, but I like them all.
Yeah,
you can't be a brewer and not
you got to be able to have anything and love it, or at least critique
have
it for yourself.
appreciation for it. Yeah,
I know.
Totally.
And you're allowed to be like, if it was winter, I would really enjoy this beer more. But right now, it's not really what I'm looking for.
It just happens to be the one in my hand.
Yeah, it's like, it's not ideal.
Well, that one, The Walking Dead, if I'm not mistaken, it's turned into a big beer for them. It's turned into a really popular beer for them.
That one's stuck for a long time.
Yeah. It's a very smooth drinking beer for an 11.4% beer. 11.4.
Yeah. And the name ties to the brewery name. Yeah. Like, it's all connected there. Little virus outbreak business going on.
That's the idea here. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Anything we can do to have fun. Our whole scene here is all about, people call it the big garage to go hang out at, or the giant living room, because it's just a cool, cozy spot. It's actually good square footage. It's a good sized space. You can pack some people in there when music's going. It's a good spot.
Yeah.
But it definitely always has that cozy, kind of cool kickback, makes you feel like you're at somebody's house hanging out,
Yeah, it's a big space. It's not crowded.
Yeah.
Kind of like, it looks like a place where you kind of just mingle. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not like, stand up and talk to people.
Yeah.
Like, wander around, talk to people.
Well, and it's crazy how the music brings people out, too. This area up here loves their live music. I mean, I know downtown Sac has a live music scene, but I think Placerville has this crazy just thirst for live music, and the scene up here is crazy, and the talent is amazing. There's a crazy amount of talent up here.
Well, I'd say 60% or maybe more of the people you meet that are coming in can play some instrument.
Yeah.
I mean, it's everybody and their brother can play something, and they can join into some band or play with anybody. I mean, it's just that way,
Yeah, and there's like multi-instrumentalists. They're like, I can play like 5 instruments, and we're good to go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And most of them like coming to places like this because they get to drink good beer and play music. So
a
lot of the bands like to play at my place or play here because they know it's like, I get to play at a good beer bar and at a good brewery, and they do a lot of breweries in town and Sacramento and other areas too. So it's kind of cool that you're a band that gets to play at breweries. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and it's it's a different vibe to play in like a Placerville area versus a Sacramento area.
Yeah.
Because like Sacramento's still like, we're a stuffy city, and it's like here they're like more appreciative, and you can do weirder stuff. Like, oh man, I'm on board for not Sacramento live music. Like, it's so much different when you just go 15 miles out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, it's definitely a different scene.
Yeah.
But to each his own for sure. But we definitely have a good camaraderie, a good music scene. And everybody's having a good time all the time. We don't have problems with people really too much. It's just a good scene. It's all.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed too. Is our customer base it's so friendly and warm and welcoming, and just has this really cool vibe up here. You don't really have a whole lot of problems. I think Placerville for years had a bit of a stigma about it, but to me, it's a lot friendlier than people think. It's a hillbilly town, and some people consider it, but it's very friendly, and I mean, people bend over backwards to help you out. And I don't know how many times people had offered to help when we were opening the place, and Tim's had similar people helping get this place open, and it's people are just willing to help out because they want to see it succeed, which is cool.
Yeah, I totally agree. We've definitely grown as a family, not just as the Outbreak family, but just the whole business family locally here, the whole thing. It's just everybody's really kind of picked up something to help the other guy out, It's been
borrowing
really good.
Tools or borrowing plumbers. You know a plumber? You know an electrician? Those kind of things, A lot of our customers are working in and around the industries in town too. So, sometimes those customers are contractors or plumbers or electricians or someone that you might be able to use later down the road. Make sure you get those phone numbers and get those cards. Who knows when you're going to need them.
Yeah, I think that's something about, because I'm a city boy myself. I don't like living in small towns, but I like visiting them. I lived in a lot of small towns as a kid. I'm like, hate this, going to cities when I get a choice. But like, there's just something about like the way that people think in smaller towns about like self-sufficiency.
Yeah.
That city people are not that great with. Like, I'll call an electrician, like, no, these people learn how to do this stuff, and you can find 17 of them that can take care of that work that you need done.
Yeah.
But like, then you can start to narrow down who's best at it, who you can refer and trust, and everything like that.
Well, I mean, Tim's done a lot of the work here himself. And
Well, you mentioned you were in construction.
You got to kind of do a lot of this stuff.
I do carry a general contractor's license. I'm also ordained. I'm also,
Married
whatever
a few
else
people.
to take. I have. I'm marrying people this weekend, actually.
Yeah, it's always weird to say it that way because I was like, one time I was like, I married my sister. No, I conducted the wedding for my sister. I conducted the ceremony for my sister. Oh boy.
Yeah. Well, and and that's what people think that I'm getting the swamp cooler ready and cleaning out the swamp cooler and installing the new toilet and fixing the plumbing and working on this and that and my manager the other day, he's like, you got somebody in mind to do the install on that? And I'm like, yeah, you're looking at him. It's going to be me. I'm going to do the install on it.
That's really how it is.
And that's the way you kind of got to do a lot of your own stuff. So
you have to.
Yeah, you don't have a choice. I mean, we have to make it work. And plus, being a homeowner, you kind of learn a few things as you own your own house and fix things and things break. And being a brewer, you got to be kind of somewhat
mechanical.
Yeah, mechanical and self-sufficient because a lot of times, there isn't a repairman that's going to get out here.
Yeah.
With
a specialty to figure out what's going on.
Right. Yeah, glycol system breaks or you got something down or something broken or something that you need fixed now.
Yeah, it's pretty much sweeping the floors in the morning, the glycol machine breaks in the afternoon, and then you're making tap handles in the late night. So it's kind of how it is.
Yeah, I haven't met a single brewer that's like, oh no, I just call people for fixes. They all are like, you need to know how to fix your stuff.
Yeah, it really is that way.
I mean, everybody thinks you're making $1 million a year running a brewery, running a tap house. Yeah. It's like, no, you need to cut every corner. Like, if you can save a penny, you're going to do it. Yeah. And, like, knowing how to fix your equipment is absolutely necessary.
Well, when I worked at Rubicon, I mean, that brewery was, 20-something years old. When I was working
I've heard
there.
so many stories about that
and
system.
I mean, stuff breaks all the time, and there's constant maintenance there, and we'd get people in there all the time too. I wanted to apply for a job. I want to be a brewer. I want to be this, and it's like, well, what are you doing for a living now? And some people coming from high-paying jobs, thinking they want to brew beer, or thinking they want to be in this industry, and I'm like, I almost discourage them. I'm like, you're going to take a pay cut. You're going to take a severe pay cut. You're going to work
more hours.
You're going to downgrade, and it's an industry that you really got to love to be in. You really got to enjoy it. You really got to love to do it, because a lot of us afford this lifestyle because we love the industry and not because we're raking in the dough.
Yeah,
it's we get paid. We get paid through those happy customers and those smiles and the people that like the beer and like the atmosphere and like the food that we make. So. That's our payment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's well put.
Yeah, it's a wonderful industry.
It really is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways to go, a lot of different kind of renditions of the whole thing, but in the grand scheme of things, it's really just kind of your job is to sort of make people happy,
Yeah.
Help them enjoy what you've created, so
to create
there's not a lot of places that can do a lot of types of industries that can do that or say that, so it's really
the Placerville area in this 50 corridor, it seems like it's been a slower moving beer industry. If you look in Sacramento and it's just booming, and you look in 80 corridor, the Auburn Roseville area, it's just crazy booming, and I think Placerville's been kind of a little slower moving, and it's nice to see that we're finally getting, a few breweries. You got Solid Ground that just went in. You got Outbreak, obviously, that went in. You got a couple. Highway 50 just went in. So we're getting there. It's finally, you're finally starting to see some life up here and some breweries popping up. And it's like you want to get people up here and you want to get people to visit the town because there's a lot to offer.
Yeah, because a lot of people go to Apple Hill and just kind of skip over it. It's kind of like there's flyover country in the Midwest and there's like drive-by country.
Yeah.
Drive-through
country
in Placerville,
yeah.
It's definitely a little bit more of a fight to get people to stop and stay. There's a lot of traffic, like you say, drive-through country, sort of.
Going to Tahoe.
Yeah, there's definitely that. They're just, a lot of people just want to get there, and sometimes they see Placerville as just the way to get through, or maybe where you get gas. And so. Well, we're pretty much dead center, between Sacramento and Tahoe. We're right there in this sweet spot where there's no reason for it to be a great little beer town or a great little stop for a lot of reasons, And it has definitely, in the last, I've been involved in downtown for about 15 years, off and on. And it's definitely, the walking traffic, the stopping traffic has definitely increased a lot.
Nice.
The festivals, there's more festivals than there used to be. Brewfest, there's a couple basically Brewfest, there's Oktoberfest. There's a lot of things going on downtown that draws a ton of people. I mean, I think the Brewfest, it's pushing like 3,000 people or something like that.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and they close the street down. I mean, how often you get to like just hang out and walk on Main Street and drink up and down the street? It kind of has that Reno, Vegas feel where, you just walk around with your beer and you can hit spot to spot to spot and brewery to brewery. And it's become a really cool thing. And they do multiple events, an Oktoberfest, they do a Brewfest, they do a couple events throughout the year, which are fun. And it's a chance to kind of explore Main Street, explore downtown Placerville, and kind of enjoying all the thing that's going on. And it's like the street is shut down strictly for that event, which is pretty cool.
Well, and really, I walk down from one end of of Main Street to the other, and it's about an 8-minute walk, to one end. It's nothing, So it's such an easy thing to walk, and sidewalks are there, and there's so many things to see along that little short, distance, and it's like, it really makes sense that people are starting to kind of come here and hang out, and seeing that it's something to do and stop at,
I used to do the events up here as a brewer in Sacramento when I lived and worked down there. We'd come up to Placerville to do the events, and I loved it, and it was one of the reasons why I moved up here. We do these events, and it's like, man, this is a cool little town. This is fun. And, a few years later, we ended up moving up here, and now we're in it, now we're like in it, knee deep in it and involved in it, so it's kind of cool. And getting to learn and know all the business owners on Main Street and a couple new places that have opened up, and it's growing. It's hopefully going to be something special because, for a really long time, it was nothing but antique stores and empty storefronts, and
for a long time,
it was really just a ghost town. I mean, it just had no life, and I think you're finally starting to see some nightlife. You're starting to finally see some cool shops, some different stores, and not just the antique older crowd that used to be here.
Yeah, I do remember those days. That's a fair point.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Isn't it nice to kind of see your city come back out of those doldrums and kind of be like, hey, we're still a thing. Right. We're not just this. We still have creators. We still have
just seeing some life being breathed back into it.
Well, there's a younger generation too. That's out drinking now and that's enjoying the craft beer. So you almost have to understand and realize that we're catering to a different market. You're catering to a new crowd of beer drinkers. You're almost those kids that weren't drinking 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago are now your market. And you gotta kind of recognize that there's a new crowd of people coming up the hill, and either you're going to cater to it or you're not. Either you're going to be the spot they want to come hang out or you're not. So I think Placerville's finally getting there. It's finally seeing some new life, which is kind of cool.
I think we need to talk about it. The name Outbreak Brewing.
Okay.
How? Why? Let's do it.
So we were really just trying to kind of find different cool concepts. We've lived here our whole lives and everything, but we didn't necessarily want to call it, something that was based on the region. We wanted to do something a little different that we could have fun with, and Dustin and I are kind of unorthodox guys anyway, so we just kind of wanted to play with it. And then one of the names that popped up was Outbreak, and really was just purely out of if we use the word outbreak, there's so many things you can do. It could be post-apocalyptic, but it also could be, our whole tagline is drink the cure. It's there's so many cool things you can do with Outbreak Brewing, it's just a whole different concept that you can play with. And him and I have, since we've been kids, we've known each other, hanging out with each other since we were 12 years old. So we've been talking since we were little kids about how we'd build our roller coaster theme park. 15 years old, we were talking about it, just being weird kids, So it was kind of one of those things. It's like, instead of just naming it something just to open a business, let's name it something what we can have fun with, Yeah. And there's just so many different things we can do. The beers that we named, Waking the Dead, is one of them. It's a good example of, us just having fun with it.
Out of the brewery name comes the beer name.
Right. It really does. Yeah. We have another beer coming out here pretty soon called Running with Scissors, and it's a triple IPA, and it's going to be dangerous. Same thing as Running with Scissors. So, it's a play on words. It's having fun with it. I think that if you're not having fun with it, then why? So.
Plus, it opens you guys up for expansion.
Oh yeah,
just a slow outbreak. Like it's just Placerville, and now it's Sacramento, and now it's Napa, and now
it's part of the outbreak.
Yeah. Containment field is grown.
Right.
It's a super good name.
Yeah.
Well done on that front.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
it's fun. Either way you look at it.
Yeah. So you guys started at roller coasters. How did you whittle it down to brewery?
So a few years ago, back in 2012, with a couple other buddies, we started brewing together, just kind of hanging out, doing a lot of brewing together. Mm-hmm. And we decided as a group that we would get a warehouse. And it was really just to brew beer. That's all it was. And so it was a central spot in Diamond Springs that we had. We split the rent, had fun brewing beer, and then we decided, how can we get ingredients for the best price? Because we're brewing tons of beer, So it's like, we ended up getting... we're setting ourselves up at a home brew shop. It was called the Brewer's Barn, and did that for about 2.5 years. And then we decided kind of right around then, do we want to grow, the Brewer's Barn into a big home brew shop and kind of maybe even open a small brewery inside of it, or do we want to just go full-fledged brewery? And we were having big parties, for promotional things and whatnot. And we were basically almost a brewery anyway, just having a lot of fun doing stuff like that. So we just kind of said, you know what? Let's go for it. Let's find a spot downtown. That's really where we wanted to be. We wanted to be on Main Street where that motorcycle is. And just a place to be able to hang out, and have more foot traffic, more drive-by traffic. And just kind of keep doing what we were doing and having fun with people, Just make beers, gather the people and build relationships with people,
Yeah, and the homebrew store thing too. It's hard. It's a hard business to kind of keep afloat too.
Oh yeah. So, well, that was one of the things. Yeah. It was like,
once online things,
is this going to happen or not?
Right? Yeah. I would love a little homebrew store here in town. That's how I got my start, was homebrewing. But it's a tough business model to keep afloat with the online thing happening. So.
Yeah.
And all those homebrewers now are like, I need the hottest hops. It's like professionals can't get those hops.
Right.
You think your homebrew shop's going to be carrying pounds and pounds of it?
Oh, yeah. It was really difficult.
Some Galaxy hops, anyone?
Yeah, we were carrying about 40 different hops, and it was just really hard. Every time you turn around, there was somebody wanting some hop that you haven't even heard of.
Yeah.
Some...
Can you get those experimental hops?
Yeah.
Like, no, they're not available to... Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it was definitely a rough business to have, but... we had about 650 customers that came from that. So if nothing else, we grew, like I say, as a bunch of relationships and a customer kind of base, for this. The first party we had when we first got the building, we were licensed to brew, so to speak, and had about 200 people here, just saying, come on in, we got the building. Let's kick off the construction. Let's have a good time. We thought there'd maybe be 30 or 40 people. It was like 200 people here, and we didn't expect that. So... it was a good, kickoff.
Do you guys ever do like a pro-am thing, knowing that there's that strong homebrewing community background?
So we have done a couple homebrew days. We did resilience, and we actually did a homebrew resilience, basically, where we came in and we put the wort together, so to speak, and put the mash together, put the wort together, and they paid the portion of ingredients to take home their share, their wort.
Okay.
Yeah, for the campfire, whatever it was, or the
the campfire fun.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
That was kind of a fun thing. We have talked about doing homebrew days, where it's like a mini homebrew competition, and we brew that beer in our brew house, and it goes on tap, So there's some cool little things that we've talked about doing. I haven't done it yet, but I'm sure it's coming.
Yeah.
Well,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
No. So, Al, you said you got your start in the homebrewing world in 1973.
Yeah.
This was a Black Sabbath.
One of those stories where you realize you don't have to be 21 to make beer at home, and it was one of those stories, and realized I found a little homebrew shop and bought all the ingredients and started making beer and realized, what am I doing? My career counselor in high school steered me wrong. I should have been doing this all my life. So it was as soon as I started even dabbling into the beer industry, I knew I had found my love and my passion. So it was, how can I get into this industry? How can I? And I started cooking in breweries and being a line cook and kitchen manager at Elk Grove Brewing way back in the day in 99, 2000 when they were on the rise. And then Sacramento Brewing Company, when they were in their height, I brewed and delivered beer and actually got my start as a brewer there. And then Rubicon Brewing, cooked, bartended, brewed over there for almost 14 years. Yeah. I just, anything and everything, I just had to get my hands on and just beer related, food, beer. And then, jumping over to Rockland Brewing at a startup brewery, and then up here in Jack Russell. And then eventually just deciding, let's try to open up our own place and try to promote the craft brewing industry through tap takeovers, through pint nights, through the community here. And so I became, it was cool because I became a brewer, and then I kind of almost regressed and became a beer fan again because now I'm not brewing. I'm actually like out there hunting for good beer. I'm actually looking at what's popular and what's hot and the new breweries coming up and trying and tasting and doing these tap takeovers. We've done a couple with Tim and Outbreak over the years, and I've done all these different things, and it's kind of given me a new appreciation for the new industry, the new fads, the new styles, the new trends. That sometimes you can get lost if you're in your own brewery in your own little world. You kind of drink your beer, and you might not expand your horizon too often. So it's kind of cool to get back into that, being a beer geek and a beer fan again.
Which is why I have to go to Al's place all the
time. Yeah, amazingly enough, I get a few brewers in my place. So it's cool. It's kind of neat to see the industry change over the years. I mean, I've been in it 15, 20 years now, and seeing what's been popular over the years. Seeing the hazy trend is crazy to me because when I was brewing, you couldn't have a hazy IPA.
Yeah, you couldn't do that.
No, bars would send it back.
Yeah.
Bars would call me up and say, your IPA is a little cloudy. You need to come pick it up. And we were known for a West Coast IPA back at Rubicon. So it's crazy to see the trend change. And, I think as a brewer and as a bar, as a place that is in the industry now, you have to be kind of fluid with the industry. You have to kind of change, even if it's not your favorite style, or even if it's something that you think might be a flash in the pan. You kind of have to be fluid with it because that's what the customer's demanding, or that's what the trend is, or that's what people want to see on tap. You kind of have to respect that, You'd be silly not to.
Yeah. Point, counterpoint. Tim.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait a minute. I totally disagree.
I don't brew hazies. No, that's not true.
No, Al's totally right. You kind of have to go with the flow. I mean, that's the whole. That's actually a part of the fun too. I mean, really, as a brewer, it's a part of the fun of. Okay, everybody's wanting to do hazy IPAs. Well, let's see how I can make it hazy, but make it mine. You know, so that it's mine when it's done. And it's my. Craft. It's supposed to be craft beer, not, the industry standard of craft, know? So, that's part of the fun.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like, what gives you more of a sense of pride? The fact that you knocked it out of the park on a style you love,
right,
or that you crushed on a thing that you don't even care about?
Exactly.
You're like, I make a great one that I don't even...
Yeah, I don't even drink, but it sold out in days.
It.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Well, we brewed a beer a couple of weeks back, a month or so ago back, and we wanted to do a beer together, and we used some of the local Admiral malting from Alameda. We were not intending on brewing a hazy beer. We were just like, let's make this juicy IPA. We'll use this malt. We'll use these hops. We'll have fun with it. Finished product, we look at it, and we're like, holy crap, this is hazy as hell. This thing is cloudy and murky, and it turned out great. We loved it, but we weren't expecting it to be hazy. The amount of wheat we put in it, that Yolo County wheat, we used a California ale yeast. We weren't trying to go hazy. It became this super juicy, hazy IPA.
It did great.
Which we both served at both of our locations. It really did great. We named it 2112, the number of steps in between our the number of feet between our places
from your door to my door.
2,112 steps in between our doors, which happens to be the greatest Rush album of all time, apparently. So they tell me.
Yeah, so everybody has told us.
Yeah. So we brewed another one. We let our staff get involved. We brewed another collab. Let our staff kind of have their hands on it, pick some hops. A good chance to educate our staff on how beer's made, teach them a little bit about the process. I let them kind of dive in and see what happens, when beer's made. So it was a good chance for them to see it, because now I think they're going to help promote it and sell it better. I think education is key when you're dealing with people that don't know anything about beer. If you hire staff, you want them to know a little bit. They don't need to know as much as I do or as much as Tim knows, but it helps if they know what a pale ale and an IPA is and what makes a blonde or a stout. So that was a chance for them to kind of learn a little bit about the process of making beer. So it was kind of cool to see that happen too.
Yeah, it makes a difference when you have your staff that can connect with people and then educate those patrons themselves, It makes a huge difference.
Well, when people walk into your bar or your brewery and they want something, but they don't know exactly what it is they're looking for, they might be new to the beer scene.
Right.
They might not like IPAs, but yet this whole fad of juicy, hazy IPAs is much more approachable. They might not like dark beers like Awakening the Dead, but the moment they try it, they're like, oh my God, chocolate, coffee.
Yeah.
I like both of those things.
That's how I got into beer, was I'm like, I got dragged to a beer festival, and my brother-in-law made me drink everything. He was like, "Which ones did you like?" I'm like, "I like the fruit beers, because I eat fruit."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I like the stouts because chocolate and coffee. I drink coffee, I eat chocolate. This is totally what I do.
People are turned off by the color sometimes, and
that's before the sour craze. So it was legit like an apricot wheat,
right,
like a raspberry pale,
actual fruit,
actual fruit,
It was probably not actual fruit. It was probably like, just like...
Well, nowadays, some of these beers are much more juice forward than they are beer forward, so... Yeah. But to each his own, if this
makes it way easier for someone to get into it, though.
Sure.
This is a nice little trick you guys all came up with.
Right.
We'll trick them all.
We'll make beer taste like juice. That way they can all drink it.
Yeah.
And
then they'll venture out a little bit. We got them.
Just makes them want to drink beer earlier in the morning.
Yeah.
This goes with pancakes, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's like, we have something. We have a maple syrup stout. Is that a thing you're into?
Yeah. Coffee stout, so you can drink it with breakfast, of course, right?
Right after you go with the hazy.
Yeah.
Which you get your coffee and your orange juice.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, any excuse to drink beer is a good excuse in my book.
Yeah. You guys are nefarious, I'll say. This beer industry. Just taking over my day. I mean, people's days.
It's our days, too.
Many hours wasted. Well, I used to homebrew a lot, and I was working at breweries homebrewing, and I was brewing so much at home, I wasn't even bringing home beer from the breweries I worked at. I'm like, this is kind of twisted in some sort of way that I'm brewing so much beer at home that I don't need to bring home, cheap beer, free beer from the places I worked. It helps having some thirsty roommates at the time too, but
I don't think I can even tell you how much beer that we brewed the first year as a home brewers.
Yeah.
Because it was a lot. We brewed a lot of beer.
Yeah.
You get into it, you have so much fun. You have, it's just like you're creating something constantly, or there's something new, and there's something to be changed or tweaked, or there's just so much fun with it. You're just like, why not keep going? Let's see what else we can make. Or can I clone something even, without looking at a clone recipe,
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Really test your skills on that.
Right.
It really does,
Yeah. Well, that's what I love is there's times I love brewing something that's totally out of the box, or you're trying to nail like a authentic style. How close can I get to a German Pilsner, or how weird can I make my IPA? It's like both ends of the spectrum. What weird ingredient can I put in it, or what twist can I put in it, or how authentic can I make it to the real deal? The guys that have been brewing for the last 500 years that have perfected their recipe. How close can I get it to that? So there's those two ends of the spectrum. And a lot of times in competition you have to have those kind of beers. You're trying to nail a certain style, but I think with brewing, to me, it's always been science and art. You got to have a little bit of both. You got to have that knowledge of what's going on, but you got to have a little bit of creativity, and adventurous, be a little adventurous to actually break out of the mold and do something different. Oh, look at that. Oh, cold beers delivered.
Beers.
Trouble.
Free delivery.
Thank you. So what are we drinking?
So this is Sabotage IPA. So this is just our West
Often
Coast.
the leader to an outbreak, a sabotage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We've been brewing this for a few years.
Saboteur.
Just doing a few different ways, playing with hops and stuff like that, a little bit. It's a pretty easy-going single IPA, West Coast IPA. It's got a little bit of apricot, a little bit of citrus. It's just an easy-going beer.
It's got that beautiful caramel color that we don't see anymore.
Right? Yeah. No one makes copper-colored beers anymore.
Yeah. I couldn't bring myself to call a single IPA that looked like straw. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I had to at least make one West Coast single IPA.
Yeah.
But still was golden, Yeah. It's a great beer, though. We've won 3 gold medals for it locally. It's a good standard West Coast IPA that's just solid, We enjoy it, a lot of people enjoy it. We do other stuff too, we do this hazy IPA that we just did with Al, those guys over there. We do a couple double IPAs. We do one that's called Citrosity.
Okay.
The other one that we're getting ready to do, like I said, was Running with Scissors. We have Hop Trance, which is another double IPA. As far as some of the other side beers, you're not into IPAs, we have Amberlin, which is a Scottish export.
Okay.
We have Eat My Schwartz, which is a German Schwartz beer.
Nice.
That's made with orange peel and steeped Carafa 3 malt. It's super good. Let's see what else. We have a few. We do like a Doomsday that we do every year for Brewfest. It's 13.5% alcohol. It's just an ornery, dry hopped American strong ale.
Okay.
So we do that every year at Brewfest, and it always does really good.
I mean, middle of June to drink a 13% beer. I mean, why not, right?
Exactly.
Walking the hot streets of Placerville. Let's get a Doomsday.
95 degrees outside. Get a Doomsday.
Yeah.
Right. No, we've had droves of lines for that.
Jeez.
So we have a lot of fun with that beer.
Well, yeah, I'd imagine so. Probably towards the end of the night, especially. Just got to get those high ABVs in me before I go home.
They're shutting the doors soon. Quick.
What's the highest thing you got?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've heard that way too many times.
Yeah.
It's like I got this Doomsday. Perfect.
Yeah.
That sounds exactly
Sounds
like what
like
I'm
my
looking for.
day.
Those are the nights on the Brewfest nights. It's like, let's put on a bunch of Pilsners and blonde ales.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's
You gotta balance stuff out.
Let's get these people ready, you know. Or the music, let's find some reggae, something to mellow some people out,
Exactly. Yeah.
What are you using in this one? The hops?
That's CTZ, Citra, and Warrior.
Nice.
It's okay.
It's good. Super
So a new
crushable.
school, old school blend there.
Old school in a sense, I guess. The way it's brewed is kind of old school.
Yeah.
How it's used as far as the hop structure is a little more new school. It's softer. It's not as bitter.
Yeah.
So it's an easygoing.
It's weird
super
to think the
crushable
beers
IPA.
that I was brewing are now considered old school. I'm like, am I old school now?
Yeah.
I'm only 41. Am I old school? I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
It is. It's a different industry. It's a different crowd. I feel old in my young age.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's moved really quick the last 7 years.
I was just going to say the
It's-
industry is
it's
rapid
changed.
changes.
Rapid,
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, there was
how
a
fast.
sour beer trend for a while, and it's petered out a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, there was obviously the hazy trend, but there was a minute there was like what was it? A couple of years back, it was like a Imperial wit beers or something were all the rave. I'm like, really? Imperial wit beers? It was just a weird trend. I saw a lot of breweries making these like high alcohol white beers, these wit ales that were just,
For the college kids.
it was just a weird
I don't
thing.
know.
I'm like, how's that even a real
I don't
thing?
remember that trend at all.
Yeah, it was very short lived. I think Sierra Nevada even jumped on that bandwagon and brewed one for their 30th anniversary.
Yeah, I remember the Black IPA, Cascadian Darks.
Black
that
IPA.
That was like a good year and 2 months.
It was one of my favorites. It was
Yeah.
one of my signature
That's still
brews
one
at
of my
Rubicon.
favorite.
Yeah. I love a good black IPA.
Yeah, they're still very good, but nobody wants them anymore.
No. I brewed Capricorn Black at Rubicon, and I love that beer. And you just don't see them. And when I see them as a bar trying to find good beer, if someone has one out, I try to snag it every now and then,
knowing that just could be you in a corner.
Well, and I even bought one from Bike Dog today. I got a ESB, and it was an ESB with coffee.
Oh, that one's really good.
I even comment, I'm like, ooh, ESBs, you don't see those very often. And he goes, no, it's really good. I'm like, it's one of my favorite styles of beers, these English bitters,
me too.
these special bitters, but it's the hardest beer to sell.
Yeah.
Over the years as a brewer, I would brew them at every brewery I worked at because I love to drink them, but you could not sell them.
Yeah.
I mean, you just could not sell them.
I had a coworker hit me up like last week, like, hey, he's like, you do beer? I'm like, uh-huh. He's like, what's the best ESB in the area? I'm like, no one makes those. I'm like, Bike Dog and Monk Cellar, you'll be fine.
Monk Cellar's good, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'd be hard pressed to tell you that anybody else even makes one right now.
Yeah.
No,
like
even
they're
hard to come
one every
across.
once in a while.
Right. Even Box, like we used to do a Maibach festival at Rubicon in the spring.
Somebody's doing a Bach Fest for Beer Week.
Really?
I forget who.
I don't even know if I could
very helpful.
find enough Box
to work.
Oh, that makes
sense.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Like, I don't even know if I could find enough box to put together a Maibach festival anymore. Like, are there even people making box anymore? It's just not locally.
I haven't seen a Bach.
In fact, the one I got recently was the Lagunitas Secret Agenda, which they call it a pale Bach, but it drinks like a pale.
Like a pale.
But yeah, it's just these styles that that we love to drink as brewers, but you got to recognize that. Can I sell it? Is it marketable?
It's definitely a balance,
Yeah. And my buddy Peter Hoey down at Urban Roots, he makes...
I was going to say, you were at Sacramento Brewery. Yeah. You came up with some pretty decent people.
He makes his hazies and his West Coast and his IPAs. He goes, I make those beers so I can brew my Belgian beers and my Pilsners. And, he goes, those beers allow me to sell enough beer to make these other beers that are a little obscure and a little different. And as brewers, that's kind of what you got to do is you got to have something marketable. You got to have something that sells, your flagship, and then that way you can afford to make these other strange anomalies.
Like a movie director, you got to get your passion project in there. It's like, I'm going to make Dune.
Yep, right.
So I can make Blue Velvet. It's the whole thing.
Yeah.
And nobody cares about Dune. The ideal is no one cares about Dune. They're all about your Blue Velvet.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. That's the hope anyway.
Yeah, right. Rarely happens, but it can, which is nice.
Well, and as the industry grows too, it's just funny to see the younger generation what their flavor profile wants to be, but us being a little older, that you still have to compensate for, because I can't go in there and put on a bunch of beers on my beer list that aren't going to sell. I have to know what's going to sell and what people want. But I get the old timers that come in there and like, why don't you have a good old German lager on, or a good old Bock, or a good, and I'm like, well, I'll try to get them in there, but I have to be able to sell them.
Yeah. You really, a lot. Well, I guess lagers are kind of coming back a little bit, because the nice part is a lot of beer drinkers do kind of mirror their brewers, and most brewers are giant lager fans.
Yeah.
They're finally allowed to go out in public and say that.
Yeah.
So people are like, oh, lagers.
We're not allowed to say that.
It's still a little bit verboten.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and a lot of us too on small breweries, lagers take a little more time and a little more care, and so to do one, it's really hard. So most of us
not cost effective,
and most of us don't do one. So when we do one, we either really go all out, or we really take that special time and care and try to let people know, no, this Pilsner, it took me an extra 4 weeks or 6 weeks, or and the customer might not appreciate that. The customer's like, yeah, it tastes good.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Yeah, it's fine. It's light.
It's like, does it get me drunk? No, it's 4%.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, why do I care?
Yeah, just make me a strong blonde.
This guy.
Make me a strong blonde that just gets me hammered.
Yeah, but I imagine as a tap room where you're like, I'll have one lager, and then I can pick one of a Bock, an ESB, a Brown, an Amber, and I'm going to pick one of them, and then someone's going to come in and complain about it's not the right one of the 6 varieties, every time.
Yeah.
I don't drink Browns. I only drink Ambers. I only offer one or the other.
Right.
Come back next week.
And when I hear about those breweries that open up that are going to do lager beers, or going to do Belgian beers, or going to do Stash,
it's
which
exciting
is now
sounding.
Barmhouse here in Georgetown, Garden Valley area.
Garden Valley,
they're going to do strictly Belgian beers, and I'm like, God, I hope they can pull it off.
Yeah, like in 2006, that would be gangbusters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
when's the last time you drank a Belgian?
Yeah, but in the industry that
the other day.
They're fighting an uphill battle.
For me.
I mean, they are fighting an uphill battle. If that's what they're going to do is focus on Belgian beers, then I wish them luck. But sometimes right off the bat that's a tough.
It's
road.
a tough style. Yeah,
it's
really
a tough
is.
style and a tough road. And then even when Solid Ground opened up, they wanted to focus on lagers. I'm like, God, good luck. I hope you guys can pull it off because they make fantastic lagers.
Yeah,
but we know that's not always sustainable.
Yeah, and then everybody learns like you do that the passion stuff, but you still got to get the other stuff out there to bring them in.
Right.
And then they trust your style, and then like I'll
get
try
them in
a
the
new
door.
thing. I'll try a new thing. I'll try a new thing.
Still got to make IPAs.
Yeah.
Still got to
you have
make
to.
what people want.
Yeah.
I mean that's just
and like
that's the name
if
of the
you're
game.
gonna focus on Belgians, like that borderline between sweet and cloying is so thin.
Yeah.
That like if you make a bad one, it'll turn people off.
They do a phenomenal job.
They do a great job.
They
really
do a great job.
job.
So it's just a matter of getting those people to taste it and drink it. And so, and that's where I think hopefully places like my place will try to, bring in a variety of beers to, expose people to these different breweries, these different beers that are out there. I try to do my best at expanding our tap list and our can list and our bottle list. That way you can come in there and hopefully find something you like. We got a bunch of IPAs on the draft, but I might have a wit beer, a Belgian beer, or an amber, or something else that is approachable. It's hard.
You've pressed some buttons across the way. How dare you? Like warning.
It's a rowdy bunch here on a Wednesday night.
So, Tim, beer trends. How do you feel about them? Where do you think beer's going in 2019? Is the haze craze?
Everybody has their different feel. Obviously up here in the foothills, it's going to be a little bit different. We have a blue collar crowd. There's going to always lagers, ambers, browns are always going to hold strong. With this community, IPAs obviously will too. Lagers, Craft Brewers Association keeps talking about every year is going to be the year of the lager. Here it comes.
Yeah. It's coming.
For the last 3 years, it's like
right
this year. Here they come. And I feel like they have gained some strength.
Oh yeah.
You're starting to see some lagers and some craft lagers that they're like hoppy lagers, so you're getting at least the aromatics of an IPA, but you're still getting a light beer.
Yeah.
So if I had to bank on something, I'd say that light, clean IPAs are going to hold strong for a long time,
The session IPAs are coming back?
I don't know about session IPAs, but I think that, your 4.5 to 5.5% session IPAs with big aroma that are balanced, with enough body that, you feel like you can drink 4 or 5 of them and not drink like water.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a thing, as far as the lager side of things. Hazies, I don't think they're going away right away. I think they're going to stick for a little while.
Yeah. They're not slowing down.
And honestly, one of the reasons is because they're, in a lot of ways, really easy for us brewers to brew. I mean, they're quick turnaround.
Yeah.
You can accentuate hops.
Yeah.
Any hop you want to accentuate, it's really easy to accentuate.
Yeah.
They're palatable. They're easy to drink. The people, that weren't drinking IPAs before, it's soft.
Right.
And it's
way less
effervescent.
And I think that's the biggest thing is the bitterness is toned down.
Way down.
We were always accused of making our IPA too bitter, and nowadays the IPAs are so much more approachable.
Yeah.
They're not bitter.
Oh,
they're
totally,
fruit forward, and they're and I agree with Tim. I think the hazies aren't going away. I think you might see a slowdown in the milkshakes. The milkshake. I think the milkshake trend is slowing down, which I'm not a huge fan of.
I think it should never have started.
I
think it should have been dead on arrival. That's what I think for the milkshakes.
I might have to agree with you on that one.
I can't. I don't. Why would you want milk sugar in your IPA? I will never understand.
I don't understand it. I think that trend will probably peter out this next year. I think that's going to die a slow death there.
Yeah, we can only
But no, I agree. I think the lagers, man, if I get a good craft hoppy lager, I mean, there's a lot of them out there right now, and man, they're just showcases to me. It showcases the quality of the brewer and be able to make a really clean, crisp lager. That to me, I hope those trends pick up. I hope the lager trends pick up because it's so different than everything else out there, and it's. a lot of times you think, some of the breweries out there can just brew this and just brew that, but it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah, I'm about 6 years deep on the Berliner Weiss is the beer of the future. I'm never right, but every year I'm like, this is the one.
Yeah,
and every year there's less Berliner Weisses than there's ever been.
God.
We're like, it's on the cusp.
Well, what was the one a couple years ago? It was the Grisette, or it was like
the Grisette.
that.
Yeah.
That
2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, that one came out, and I remember saisons were really huge a couple years ago when I was brewing.
I remember I did a beer trade. Somebody sent me one. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
He's like, it's like a saison that's garbage. I'm like, okay, cool. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Like a mealy saison. I'm like, I don't want that.
Well, and a lot of them are trying to resurrect old brews that no longer exist, or
weird
some
stuff,
some weird. What was the one? What was that one? It was like a oak smoked wheat ale. It was really light,
sticky, or like
something like that. Was it a Polish beer? Or it was something. It was a really light base beer, and they used an oak smoked wheat, and it drank really light, but it had a smokiness to it, and that was like they were trying to resurrect this old historical style, and I just like, great for that, but is there a market for it? I just don't see it.
We've ran into at least three home brewers in the last year that all have been brewing a Groot.
Really?
Yeah. It's like, so you guys like to make stew.
Yeah.
Like,
well, cider's been on the rise for a number of years, and you start seeing these craft ciders now.
Not that I pay attention to the numbers necessarily in cider too much, but I do feel like more and more people are drinking ciders. It seems to be more and more people are ordering them.
Hard kombuchas. I see a lot of those popping up nowadays. Hard kombuchas are huge. Honestly, I think the biggest trend lately is these sparkling waters.
Oh, yeah.
Hard water.
Yeah.
And you're seeing all kinds of hard water out there now. It's flavored and different.
Sorry, I'm trying to find the worst beer I've ever drunk, because you mentioned smoked beers. So keep talking.
I enjoy a good smoked beer every now and then. They're definitely hard to drink in mass. Alaskan Smoked Porter was always a really good one, but that had like alder smoked, like a smoked salmon kind of character to it.
I found it. I remember.
What was it?
I was like, maybe I should use the word smoked in this Google search.
Yeah.
This is back when they're like, blending styles is a thing. Remember that craze? Like, let's make all things. I'm going to describe this beer to you based on the words that they used.
Yeah.
We updated an old Lichtenhainer style, a smoked wheat beer, by adding a little Brett to the mix.
Oh.
This is a dry hopped, smoked sour wheat ale.
Okay.
4.4%. Tasted like Band-Aids. It was the worst thing.
We're going to blend all styles into one.
It was I paid like $18 for like a 12-ounce bottle, and it was the worst thing I've ever tasted.
And as a brewer and as a even cooking over the years, like you gotta taste the beers and actually know
feel like
that
I didn't.
Right? Like, did
really
someone
feel like
actually taste this before they put it out?
And this is not like some small brewery. This is like
a major
it's
brewery.
Not from California, but it's like Western-ish. I'm not going to name names. Just Google those words, and you'll find it. Yeah. And it's just like you put this out and charged a premium for it.
There's been some of that. I mean, even still, kind of some of that stuff is still going on.
Yeah. Well, and I think in this market, we talk about this industry changing.
Like what words are popular in beer right now? Let's make those all happen
Exactly.
at once.
People are clamming for trying to be unique and trying to be different.
This was probably 4 years ago. So right before Hazy went crazy, I guarantee if the haze craze had started right then,
they would have made it a hazy
dry hopped,
smoked
sour
bread.
wheat, and I just, oh my god.
Yeah. And that's part of the problem and some people can pull it off if they do it in subtle ways, because I think Almanac does some weird stuff where it's like
real weird stuff.
Dry hopped and fruit and sour and barrels and it's this and that, and they're one of my favorite breweries.
Oh yeah, me too.
Because they do it well, they do it balanced, and they do it with a subtlety that's not overly bearing. Because sometimes you read the ingredients, you're like, oh, I don't know. I mean, this can be ginger is very intense, or this or that, can be overbearing. And if you do it in a subtle way and pull it off and do it well, I think a lot of those people are clamoring for some share of the market of we need to be different. We need to make something that's unique and something that's good.
Find their spot.
Yeah.
And, honestly, what happened to just making beer-flavored beer?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what are you talking about?
Yeah, right? Can we just make beer-flavored beer that's just like beer?
That's ridiculous. Don't ever say that again.
I think the market has shown you cannot do that.
Yeah.
You cannot do that according to the beer market.
Right. You have to have a tagline or a hazy or maybe a really cool geometrical label that is on your can. It's got to be artistic.
Fine.
Yeah,
it's totally fine then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I've had people ask me too, does the label matter? And I said, I've seen it. I've seen it at my pub that, a cool beer label will sell the beer.
A label, a name, it all makes a world of difference.
Yep. Revision, Reno as fuck.
Yeah.
How does that get on a label?
Crushing it.
Yeah. It's killing it. That
you
beer
can't
will
not buy
sell
that beer.
out every time. I will buy a case of that, and it will, gone.
I think I had it and I just ate the whole can.
Yeah. Tattooed the label on my shoulder. Yeah. And it's crazy. But, even with Revision, because they're a huge brewery, I've seen beers with not so great labels from them not sell very well, but then you put out Reno as fuck and that beer flies, So it is, and I think a label and the art and the whole marketing thing is definitely something to consider, And marketing is huge.
I don't mean to invade on this Outbreak episode of this podcast, but I just want to point out Revision's Blonde is really fucking good.
It is really good.
I haven't had it yet.
Revision Blonde, Reno Blonde?
I haven't had the Reno Blonde.
We carry in can.
I've seen it.
It's really
but
good.
I haven't had it yet.
It is one of my favorite blonde ales.
And you wouldn't expect that from a place known for its IPAs.
Yeah. Well, Jeremy knows what he's doing. I mean, that guy's pretty talented, and he knows how to use hops. And I think the blonde it's a style that I don't care for in general. And so when you get a good blonde, you're like, oh wow.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good blonde.
Yeah, and it's like $8 or $9 a six pack.
Yeah, because blondes really just don't have a whole lot of flavor that they pack. It's light, drinkable, and easy. But when you get one that's like, oh, that's got some flavor to it.
And I will say, actually, we're talking about styles, kind of, what's the trends and whatnot. There's a lot of blondes being brewed right now.
Yeah,
there really is. Blondes are kind of coming back right now.
That 805 cracked that door open.
It did.
People are I'm ready for it.
And some people don't realize 805 is a blonde.
Right.
Yeah,
I get people coming in the pub going, can I get an 805? I'm like, well, I don't have 805, but I do have this blonde ale. And they're like looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, well, you understand that 805 is a blonde, right?
Yeah.
So, no, and I joked around with my 805, my Firestone rep. I say 805 because I tell them, I go, when are they going to come out with 805 IPA, 805 hazy, 805 this, 805 that?
It would make
because to me
clean up.
They would clean up as a marketing standpoint.
Yeah, that name's ubiquitous at this point.
They don't even know it's Firestone Walker.
Nobody.
They just know it's 805.
Yeah.
Yeah, 805. They think that's the brewery.
Yeah.
Even with Sierra Nevada the other day.
Disrespectful.
I had an older gentleman come into my pub the other day. He asked for something light, and I said, "Oh, well, I have this new Sierra Nevada beer." And he looks at me with a scowl, and I said, "No, it's their Sierra Vesa."
Oh, yeah.
Which is their Mexican lager style beer. And he looked at me as when I said Sierra Nevada, he had an instant scowl on his face because he knew Sierra Nevada. He associated it with pale ale,
Torpedo.
with hops, with torpedo, with bitter. Sierra Vesa is the lightest Mexican lager you'd ever drink, and he tasted it and he goes, "Oh my god, this is amazing." So I think a lot of it is the perception out there too. You got to kind of train your customers sometimes. That first taste is free. Give them a little taste and see if they actually commit to it. So, as well as this industry is established and growing,
there's
so
still
much room for education.
Oh,
I agree. There's
a
still so
lot
many
of people
drinkers
that still really
just don't know.
Yeah. You have to and you have to fight them on it almost.
Yeah.
Like, no, this isn't what you think it is. It's different. You've been misled, sir. I
Yes.
apologize for your past.
Yeah.
But I'm not here to hurt you.
You talked about trends. We were talking about today at the pub. I think I've noticed more low-cal lagers than I've seen in years past.
Yeah.
I have one on tap now, a low-cal lager from Dust Bowl. I mean, light, pale as you ever seen. Barely a tinge of yellow. Super light, low-cal. You've seen, Pabst is now have a Pabst Light. There's been a couple breweries that have these really low calorie light lagers, light beers. I don't care for them because they lack a little flavor, but I see a lot of them being made right now. So I don't know if it's the trend and people want to be fit, in shape, running,
and to be able to say they still had a beer
and still out of a beer,
Right.
technically.
They don't want to order a Michelob Ultra,
right?
They want to order craft beer,
something that's craft,
but they still get their light beer. So I see those kind of trending up a little bit, I would guess. Sours I see kind of trending a little down again.
Yeah.
I don't sell a lot of sours like I used to.
Well, because sours are they're borderline unapproachable beers.
Agreed.
Because they can be so much.
Right.
Or they can be so bad.
Right.
Like it's not like I made the mistake of I had some friends that had never had a sour before, and we'd already been drinking, and so I find this bottle of like this beautiful brewery sour, and I'm like, we're gonna try this.
Yes.
And they kind of all blend together for me. I've had so many of them, and I order it and I get a glass and I'm like, this is exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is gross. I'm like, fair point. This is like a barrel-aged sour. It's got like 18 things going on. I'm like, this probably wasn't a good intro sour. Right. And now they're never going to drink a sour again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're not going to listen to me about beer.
Right.
They're like, it's done.
You don't know anything.
Yeah.
Well, I saw that with the kettle sour trend. You get these kettle sours that are good, tart, crisp, that are easier, approachable beers. Yeah. But then I would get some kettle sours that had no tartness, no acidity to them whatsoever. And I'm like, how are you calling this a kettle sour? And it's not even tart in the slightest bit. So I find that in some of these new styles and these new trends, there's not a standard. The brewed IPA, for example. Brewed IPAs were all the rage this last year.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about those.
But you get so many different versions of a brewed IPA. You get dry, crisp. You get hazy somehow in a brewed IPA. You get fruity. You get bitter. I'm like, there's no standard. There is no guideline knowing that if I go in and order a brewed IPA, I'm going to get something in this little realm of flavor. They're just all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you
really
feel
don't
about
know.
the brutes, Tim?
We actually have done a couple of them, but even us, it's kind of like I do a lot of things. I said, okay, well, that's what they're saying to do. They want it dry, crisp, but I can't help myself. I had to add a little color, and it's all Pilsner malt, and it's
nice.
We did use enzyme in order to drop it down under 0 to get it really dry, and it was really dry and crisp and clean, but it was more sort of like an amber lager, than it was anything else, So it was, which is really I actually enjoyed it because it was crisp and easy drinking, but it probably wasn't necessarily
a brute IPA.
A brute from San Francisco, so to speak. You know what I mean? So
we found that, over the years too, is sometimes when you're trying to brew a style of beer, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's just easier to brew a beer that you will like in flavor. You just want to brew this beer that's this color, this hop, this flavor profile. And we always said, is it yummy? Do we want to order another pint? And that was always kind of our criteria, is instead of trying to break down this whole analyzing it, it looks like this and it tastes like that and it smells like that, is it good enough to order another beer? Is it tasty? Is it drinkable? Because I think sometimes in this industry, especially as a brewer and as an owner, a bar owner, you're a little overcritical of styles and beers, and sometimes it's just easier just to relax and enjoy a beer and not judge it and not be so hypocritical and just kind of sit back and say, would I order a second? Yeah.
It really is that simple. It really should be that simple.
Yeah, it is that key.
Yeah.
You can do crazy, wild stuff and it'll get you a good reputation, but do you want to come back and drink, birthday cake stout 3 times?
Only on my birthday.
Yeah.
Right. Once a year. It's called birthday cake.
Yeah.
It's once a year. That's right. You're not coming back for it.
I actually bought one of those beers for my fiance for her birthday, and she has yet to drink it.
Yeah.
It was a brewery made chocolate sprinkle beer.
Oh, I think
which was like a double chocolate barrel aged bourbon, something that's probably 14-15% alcohol, and it's still sitting in the fridge.
Yeah.
Your birthday was in October.
Yeah. See, I'm waiting to the next one.
Can you drink this beer?
I can only do that once a year. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So Tim, what's you got a flagging down, or is that a?
It was a goodbye wave to Mikey's Kilted Kitchen that made us all those tacos.
Thank you for the tacos, sir.
Delicious tacos. Truly appreciated.
Yeah.
And surprising. That was nice. hopefully the listeners got a little ASMR in there as we were all alternating our chews. Go back and listen to it. It's a little hidden Easter egg.
Yeah.
You can hear all of us chewing tacos at different times.
We tried to make sure you couldn't hear, but you probably heard.
I ate mine off mic for the record.
Yeah, we all did, but like it maybe picked up. I'm just trying to get people to listen to it again. I'm just trying to pad my listens. That's all. That's all that is. So what does the future hold for Outbreak?
Tyler here Tyler. He's actually our sales rep. He's going to start helping us with distribution and sales just little bit by little bit. We're not going to go really wild crazy, but we've got a couple beers we're going to be putting out here that's specifically for distribution. They are a couple hazies and West Coast IPA, and then Running the Scissors probably will make its way out too, that are really just designed to kind of get out of Placerville to get people back here, That's kind of our whole thing. We have such a cool spot. There's no reason for people not to come here and be a part of what we're doing here in this town.
Yeah.
Placerville's really cool.
And it's right off the 50. It's
literally
a minute. You get off the freeway for a minute and you're here.
It's pretty much running right alongside of it. That's the freeway.
You can see the freeway.
It's right here next to us. So
yeah.
It's pretty cool.
You can hear it in the recording.
Yeah,
I always tell people that Sacramento's not that far from Placerville.
It's not.
I mean, you're 20, 30 minutes up the road and you're here.
Yeah,
it's pretty quick.
40 in traffic.
In traffic,
in traffic.
Right. But yeah, I mean, we're not that far up the hill. It's a nice little getaway.
Yeah,
it's a nice little jot out of town.
Yeah, if you'll go to Elk Grove from Sacramento, you can go to Placerville.
Exactly.
If you go to Auburn, you can go to Placerville.
Right.
Yeah,
and now there's a couple spots to hit while you're up here, and so that's the cool thing is you can hit a handful of spots where you're up here in the foothills.
We're getting cool places to stay too.
Yeah,
it's more than just if you come for a festival.
If you're drinking, if you're running the ladder,
yeah,
up and down, you need somewhere.
No, there is a few hotels, and there's supposedly one going in here next year. Another one.
Really? Nice.
And but the Carey House Hotel. I don't know if you ever heard of that place, but that's like all of the Ghost Hunter TV shows. They all hit that one up. That's a super cool place to hang out and stay.
Yeah.
So there is places to hang and stay, and especially during the festivals. We have cool festivals, so it's a good spot.
Yeah, there's culture, there's history, there's beer.
Totally, yeah.
There's a place to stay. Worse things could happen in your life.
You could be in worse locations.
Yeah. And then I would be remiss if I didn't bring this up. It is going to be Beer Week as this episode drops. So,
nice, yeah.
What are you guys
Next
doing
week,
for Beer
right?
Week?
So,
as listeners will hear, this exact week.
Oh, right? Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah, so we'll have our, what are we calling that thing right now?
I don't know.
It's sort of the pub break.
Yet to name.
We have a little cool little thing going on. We brewed together a hazy IPA that's going to be at both locations, and there's a couple other little events going around town, but you have to look it up to really see. I don't remember what's going on. There's a couple of locations that are doing stuff.
Yeah.
But
I find we don't get a lot of the Sacramento Beer Week stuff up here. We just don't
That's
see
a
it.
fair point.
Yeah. We just don't see a lot of it. We do, over the years, we've done a few events, but...
it's really more of an excuse for us to just, have a good time.
Yeah.
Hey, Beer Week's going on down there.
Down there.
I guess we'll do something, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's do a weekend thing and an all-week thing.
Right.
And
we're good. Just call it good.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to get away from Sacramento Beer Week, come up to Placerville and hang out at one of our places.
Exactly.
Just beat the crowds,
And also possibly a second place.
Yeah.
So if you were an Outbreak fan who could not get to Outbreak Brewing or Placerville Public House, where else could people get your delicious beers?
Right now, just locally. We have a few little spots. Pizza Factory right here in town. We have Findleton Pub up the hill a little bit further. We got a couple collaborations coming up. There goes Mikey.
Again.
I'm sorry you guys can't see it, but he's wearing a kilt. Actually, I'm glad you guys can't see it. He's wearing a kilt.
Right. If you're going to name it that, you got to live the lifestyle.
He wears a kilt. I'd say 95% of the time if it's snowing and there's 8 inches of snow on the ground.
I've been alive for decades, and I will say if somebody wears a kilt occasionally, they wear a kilt constantly. There's no
in between.
No laissez-faire kilt wearer.
Oh, yeah,
I've never worn a kilt
all
for
the
the
time.
record.
Yeah, I've never worn one, and I am not wearing one now because I don't wear kilts.
I'm almost a full-blooded Scotsman, so I do have one, and I will enjoy a kilt here and there. And I say enjoy because it's enjoyment. Mostly because everybody else is looking at you, going, "Why is that guy enjoying a kilt?" No, as far as the places we have going, not much right now. We're just getting ready to kind of kick off just this little bit of distribution. You'll start seeing us down in Sacramento a little bit, Rancho Cordova, Auburn, and actually up in South Lake Tahoe too.
Nice.
So some few places here and there.
Awesome. And then where can people find you on social media and anything they want to find out about what you got going on?
Social media, we always got something going on. Our website, outbreakbrewing.com. Look us up on Facebook. Instagram is Outbreak Brewing. There you'll find all of our events.
Yeah.
All of kind of stuff going on locally, actually, even too. We actually promote other businesses, what's going on locally too. So there's a lot to see on our social media.
And then, Al, what about for Placerville Public House?
We're pretty active on social media. Placerville Public House.com. We have Placerville Public House on Facebook. Bossman Al has a page on Facebook now. I've started doing Instagram. I'm not very savvy, but I'm working towards it. I'm getting better. Bossman Al has a page on Instagram now, and so we're embracing the social media. We're just trying to get better with it. But we're always trying to promote our events every week, different tap takeovers and our live music that's happening every weekend. So it's a constant thing. You got to keep up with the Joneses and push that social media avenue and try to promote as much as we can. So and we try to help and promote each other as well. I mean, we're constantly doing that. So
I would be remiss to not ask this question. We've mentioned it a bunch of times. The Placerville Brew Fest, when is that? Even if it's June
22nd. Yeah,
June 22nd, Saturday.
I'm glad I asked. It was if it was February, I still asked.
No, June 22nd.
22nd.
Yeah, huge event. They're going to close the street down. You're going to see, 40, 50, 60 breweries out there.
Yeah, I think it's pushing 50 right now.
Yeah.
You'll be able to get tickets online. I think it's Beers and Sack runs it.
Yeah, and then we're selling tickets at the pub as well this year.
Cool.
We're actually selling tickets at the Placerville Public House. It's one of the greatest brew fests I've been to. I used to do it for years as a vendor, and now I'm a vendor again, a retail vendor again. So it's just a fun event. You're going to see, hundreds of people out there on the street mingling, and they run it from the front of Main Street Sacramento Street?
Yeah, Sacramento Street all the way to Bedford.
Yeah, so it's a really long run where they just shut the street down, and
there's a ton of food. And it's a killer. You get in and it's like the fair for freaking big kids. It's tons of fun.
It is. It's one of our favorite events, and we get busy, and then we promote afterwards. After the Brew Fest, we promote. We usually do a live music event, afterwards. So we try to keep the party going after the Brew Fest is done.
Gotta have that after party.
Yeah, gotta.
No, the after parties are all pretty gnarly around here.
Yeah, so reserve your room in advance because they will sell out.
They will.
Yeah. And if you want to wait till the year after, I hear there's a new hotel coming in. So
yes.
That's the rumor.
But you should come this year also.
If someone was smart, they'd build a hotel.
Yeah, and someone did.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I think, for Barley and Me, you can follow Barley and Me across social media at Barley and Me Pod. You can buy T-shirts at zenthreads.com. There's zen-threads.com. I think that's pretty much it for what Barley and Me does, right? I don't really. Email questions, comments, concerns, guest ideas to barleyandmepodcast@gmail.com or barleyandmepod@gmail.com to keep it all succinct. Doesn't matter. This has been episode 99 of Barley and Me. I want to thank you so much.
Awesome.
All right.
Tim Daniel from Outbreak Brewing.
Thank you, sir.
And Al Griffen from Placerville Public House. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Had fun.
Thanks so much for listening. Get home safe.